Hello and welcome to this Dawn Busters Taste Challenge. Dawn is breaking. That means it's time to taste whiskey one against the other. Well, now what do we have today? We have the venerable Jack Daniel's number 7. Introduced, this is the green label. Introduced at some point in history. We know the distillery was founded in 1866. This is a liter bottle. This is sold in only a few states. There's the gold medals. Bottled at the distillery. It's a green, gold, and white label. Why, if they had purple on here, it'd be carnival colors. Okay, this was purchased for me in Beaumont, Texas. It was about 25 bucks for this liter bottle. Okay, I guess that's after tax, maybe $23.99, $24, $22.99, I don't remember. But I asked him how much was it. Oh, about $25. I said, okay. You can look this up on the website, except you won't find it. It's not listed under the Jack Daniel's portfolio. They say our whiskeys. Forget it. You won't see number 7. You'll see old number 7, the green label, but you won't see the black label. You'll see the black label. You won't see this. There's a little mention of it in the frequently asked questions. What is Jack Daniel's green label? And they talk about how it's younger and it's lower in the barrel house and more central in the barrel house. It's the barrels that are lower and more central, meaning they don't get their proper heat. The barrels that go into the single barrel, the Jack Daniel's specialty collection, those are at the top of the barrel house in the heat. And it said it cures the liquor better. Oh well. So this is, I guess they use it for blending, and there's a lot left over, so they sell it for a little bit cheaper price. Although in Texas, I didn't notice that it was really cheaper. Not by much. And apparently this is like the Jack Daniel's in Texas. Basically, from what I could tell, this was the main thing. And then they had the black label over on the side. Okay. Lim Motlow proprietor. See, they're still using the old style label with Lim Motlow on it. Old time sour mash. They don't use this in the font is different. Everything is different. They don't use this on the new. Go get a new bottle and you'll notice it's not the same. It's different. 100% whole natural grains. Now they give the ingredients. Corn. It's at least 51% corn because it's a bourbon, but they don't call it a bourbon. They call it a Tennessee whiskey. Rye and barley malt. Okay. There's no age statement, meaning it's aged at least 4 years. Now, the Challenger Kentucky Tavern, introduced in 1903. Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of glare, okay, because I got very little outside light. Anyway, it's a picture of a tavern. Straight bourbon whiskey from Kentucky, 80 proof, as well as the Jack Daniel's. Founded by James Thompson. This was started by James Thompson. KT, Kentucky Tavern, aged only 3 years and not listed as sour mash. What have I found out about Kentucky Tavern? Well, it was $10.99 for a liter, okay? $10.99. You know, that's cheaper than $22.99, ain't it? And it has been setting them up and knocking them down. Setting them up and knocking them down in competition. Now, you might say, what are you going to get for $10.99 a liter? Trash, right? No, not from my experience. Well, I put too much. I put too much in each glass. Uh-oh. This will take a while to sip down. Oh, well, I'm off today. I'll do that during the morning. Both golden, same appearance pretty much. Alcohol eggs, golden appearance. All righty. Even if I filled both to the brim, we're only talking about 8 ounces. Well, wait, 8 ounces, that's a little bit much. But one glass is only 4 ounces, so usually I fill them up about a third high, third the way up. All right. Tomorrow night, we're planning to examine a brandy. It'd be the last brandy for a long time, I'm afraid. I got too much whiskey back stock. Way too much, like 5 years worth, I believe. At least 3 years. So am I buying any more liquor coming up? I don't believe so. I can't see the purpose in doing that. We're going to do a brandy called Sacred Bond. Sacred Bond. The Christian Brothers Sacred Bond. It's bottled in bond. It's 100 proof. Oh, I don't want to fill that glass too high. From Kentucky. Contract distilled by Heaven Hill for the Christian Brothers, which they've done for 30 years now. Christian, well, we'll get into that later. So then John and Ely is planning to join me for that. In fact, it was his idea. The Drunken One talked about doing it too. Sparky said he had to go find it. So I don't know if he'll join because most people can't find the darn stuff. And besides that, it's about $25 a bottle. So I could see the reluctance there. A week after, the first Wednesday in December, we're going to examine Seagram's VO. Very own or very old, whatever it's supposed to mean. No one really knows. That's an ordinary product. Every liquor store in the world sells that, right? Okay, anyway, back to this. Oh, what's my prediction? I think Kentucky Tavern's going to win. As crazy as that sounds, I really do think it's going to win. But I don't. Well, I'm going to find out. I'm doing a blind taste test. Dried fruit, candy, sugar, corn. The aromas commonly associated with whiskey. You know the routine if you've drunk enough of these things. If you have, drunk enough of these things. Okay, this is milder. More sweet corn, like Libby's sweet corn, whole kernel. See, I already think this is Kentucky Tavern because remember in the past examinations or taste challenges, I said it didn't have a whole lot of aroma, but that's where the taste is where it burst forth with all the wood and everything. I mean, there's a slight wood char, but it's so minimal here. Over here, it is minimal, but there's a little more of it here. So just by taste alone, I think that what's on my left could be your right. I think this is Jack Daniel's number 7. I think the other one's Kentucky Tavern. Now, which do I prefer, Jack Daniel's green label or the black label? I don't know. The green label is pretty darn good. I might prefer the green label, but I can't get it, so the point is moot. What do I prefer, the Evan Williams green label or the black label? Ooh. That's a toss-up. What do I prefer, Jim Beam or the Jim Beam Choice green label? That point is moot too because it's been discontinued, the green label. But I definitely prefer the Jim Beam green label, the Choice. It's head and shoulders above the Jim Beam, which is probably why they discontinued it. Also, I heard rumor and talk that the new owner, Suntory of Japan, did not want to pay to maintain this charcoal filtration plant. There was a separate facility where they did the charcoal filtration. They didn't want to do it. I have no verification of that, no sources, just somebody saying it. Doesn't mean it's true. But my friend David, who does videos with me sometimes, he said, oh, it's just great. He was kind of not so positive about Evan Williams, but he loved the green label, the Choice. Age 5 years. All right. Taste. Clean corn, some char, some wood. Sort of muted. Now you see, that's why I think it's the green label Jack Daniels. Jack Daniels is a little harsh, and I find that the green label is a little smoother and more mellow. Some would say dull. Dull. Yeah, because it's not getting the full treatment that it should get. That's why it's stuck in a green bottle and sold for a little bit cheaper. Or used as a mixer. Or I should say a mingler, a blender. They blend it with the others to make the final product at JD. Brown-Forman. They were very they stopped me cold. They said, "Oh, we don't blend our whiskey, we mingle it." I said, "Oh, okay." The guy said, when you blend things, you put it in a blender. I said, whatever you want to call it. So if you go to Canada, if you buy Crown Royal or Canadian Mist, that's a blended whiskey. Jack Daniels is a mingled whiskey, although it's straight whiskey, right? It's a straight bourbon. Most Canadian blended whiskeys are blended with grain whiskey or grain neutral spirits, like Scotch and Irish whiskey, by the way. Blended. Oh well, popular, whatever. I mean, I'm going to call it right now. This is Kentucky Tavern. That's Jack Daniels. The Kentucky Tavern. The aroma is not too elaborate, sort of ho-hum, but the flavor is so deep and profoundly wood char. Okay? It's almost like smoked whiskey. You know, they got the Roch beer, the Roch beers, the smoked beers, which I don't really like because they taste like smoked ham. And if I want to eat smoked ham, I'll eat smoked ham. I don't want to drink it, but they're unusual. This one is like and if you go to Barton Distillery or Buffalo Trace, they'll show you the charred planks they use in the barrels, and they're this thick with charcoal. I mean, it's incredible. So I think what they like to do there is like really char stuff to the hilt. They want a real smoky flavor. That's kind of maybe a Buffalo Trace characteristic. I don't know that, but I know when we were drinking the Blantons, I went to David's house and we were drinking the Blantons, and he said, "What do you think? What do you think?" I said, "Well, I really like it, but it tastes like a amped up Buffalo Trace to me." And he started sipping on it. "Oh yeah, it does." And then he said, "I feel ripped off." I said, "Don't feel ripped off. It's got that house style, that Buffalo Trace house style. It's hard to describe it. But the Kentucky Tavern seems to have that." And the Blantons. And to some extent, even the Kentucky Gentleman, which is also from Buffalo Trace. That's the blended bourbon, but it has that, I don't know, you know how you know something but you can't describe it? That house style. You know, it's like DC comic books in the 1970s, the artwork always was different than Marvel, because DC had a house style and Marvel had a house style. So you couldn't really describe it, but you knew it was different. And you could always tell a DC comic book by the artwork. Even the writing was different. It's paced differently, and the aspect was different. So maybe you got to read 6,000 comic books like I did to really get a grip on that. Now, you know, as this one on my left is starting to breathe, the wood is coming out. Still a lot of corn, though. Huh. Makes you wonder. Now, which one's better? Better? Superior? Oh, I guess it's a tie. Jack Daniel's Green Label, mighty fine stuff. I'd buy it again. Again. I didn't buy it the first time. It was a gift. Oh, you know what I mean. I'd buy it. Kentucky Tavern. It's a winner all the way. If there's anything wrong with this bourbon, I'd love to know what it is. Can't think of anything. Like, what are the good points? The wood, the char, the bold flavor, the Buffalo Trace character. What's the negative of it? I don't know of any negatives. It's $10.99 a liter. Jack Daniel's is $11 more a bottle. I guess you can figure out which one I'd buy. If the flavor is comparable and I can save 45%, guess what? Guess what? Okay, I'm gonna call it. You gotta watch these things because when they start to breathe and set, then it becomes more difficult to taste them apart, tell them apart, differentiate them, because they develop. Like there's something that when you first pour it, it's not there, but it starts to come out. It's weird. It's kind of like wine. And you say, oh, Lord, he's going to talk about wine. He drinks Carlo Rossi. Yeah, well, you know what? You know what? I've got that bottle of Merlot, and every time I pour a glass, it has a lot of different points on it. The taste, the points go down the road. Like when I drink it, I'm thinking on it. And it's got these little tick points. And you can laugh and say, you fool, you paid $12.87 for a whole gallon bottle. Everybody knows that's bum juice. It's trash. No one likes it. Okay, whatever you say, you do what you want. I would encourage you to do what you want. And I'm going to do what I want. But I know what I'm talking about. The Carlo Rossi has a complexity that you would not believe something could have at $12.87 a bottle. Now, I mean, I know what I'm talking about. I was going to start talking about even the Wild Irish Rose has a level of complexity that I would not recommend. It's a lot of what I call it sadness in a bottle. But if you think on it while you drink on it, you will notice some things about it. I didn't say you'll notice anything good about it. I just said some things. So you can notice things that aren't good, right? Oh, well, I bought that as a lark for all intents and purposes. But it was an interesting lark, you know. Anyway, back to this. I think this is it's got too much corn, you know, it's got that cornbread. I think that's why some people don't like bourbon. I hear some people say bourbon, ugh. It's got too much wood char and it's got too much cornbread, right? Like people like to eat cornbread, fresh, hot cornbread with butter, but they wouldn't want to drink it. Am I sold on bourbon? Not necessarily. I've tried it. I got a lot of bottles of it. I like it, but I'm not sold on it particularly. I like the brandy. Prefer the American over the French. Anyway, I got Scotch to try in my cabinet. I got not Irish whiskey, Canadian blended whiskey. I don't have to be sold on it. Why would I have to be sold on it anyway? I can just drink it, right? I don't have to like be dedicated to some type of whiskey. That's ridiculous that's ridiculous in my opinion. Okay, so I think this is Jack Daniel's. Woo! I was scared. That's why I started talking about Wild Irish Rose, because I was scared. I was trying to delay the inevitable. But yeah, I got it. I keep getting it. I keep getting it. Look at that light coming from outside. Dawn is here. Well, it's been a fascinating adventure with this Kentucky Tavern, I gotta tell you. But there's one last exercise, and that's the Kentucky Tavern versus the early times. Now, I don't think that's going to be much of a contest, okay? Early Times is like the cheap whiskey from Brown-Forman. It's 80 proof and it's aged in used barrels. Is it that different from Jack Daniels? I don't know. It could be the same thing, just put in used barrels. I don't know. I mean, you know, it doesn't taste that remarkably different from Jack Daniels, although it's a lot has less character or whatever. But it's all right. Like I say, it's a nice little whiskey for $8.99 a bottle. You know, hey, doesn't set the world on fire, but then I don't think it ever was marketed to set the world on fire. You look at old advertisements of Early Times from 40, 50 years ago, and they're all just saying, oh, it's nice, you know, you could drink it. It used to be stronger. It used to be straight bourbon, by the way. It used to be straight bourbon whiskey, but they repositioned it as a Kentucky whiskey. Now on Proof 66 website, they list it as a blended whiskey. It is not a blended whiskey, but they didn't know where to put it. They didn't know where to put it. They didn't have a category for Kentucky straight whiskey / not a bourbon. Okay, so Early Times, they couldn't list it under bourbon because technically it's not, although in reality it is, but technically it's not because of the used barrels. I mean, aside from that, it tastes like bourbon, right? They used the recipe, 51% corn and all of that. It's not a blended whiskey because they don't use grain neutral spirits as a base, right? But they're not going to make it their own category. Kentucky straight whiskey / not bourbon. You say there's probably other ones like that that exist. Oh yeah, there are probably a lot. Well, I don't know that. I'm just saying that there might be. So Early Times is a unique product. There is an Early Times bourbon, but it is rare. And there are specialty Early Times. Yes, but try finding those. Try finding them. You won't. There's like flavored, like some kind of Early Times fire, Early Times honey. But, I mean, you just can't find them. That's the fascinating part about all these videos, really. People say, you taking a position here, your stance is that and this and that. I have no stance. No, I swear I have no stance on beer, wine, or liquor. I just like looking at brands, the history of the brand, how does it taste. If you're trying to get an angle on my position, you're going to waste your time. I just drink them. I taste them. Like Greenleaf was saying, oh, you're biased towards cheap macro lagers. I really am not. I'm not biased toward them. I don't care. I just drink them. I mean, I just don't care. I drink them. It's a product, and then it's like one after the other. Okay, so I don't have an angle. I'm not trying to build towards some great thing. You know what I mean? Like my videos are not like some surreptitious plot to make a greater point. Okay, the point is I'm just drinking them and telling you what I think. That's it. Tell you the truth. I'm telling you the whole truth. Okay, this is it. It's a tie, but honest. Well, you know what? Kentucky Tavern does win by a toenail. And secondly, if it's $10.99 a bottle and a Jack Daniels is $24.99 a bottle, guess what? Kentucky Tavern wins by a mile when you take price into account. It wins by a mile. So Kentucky Tavern is one of the great champions. And like one of my commentators said, the secret weapon, it's his secret weapon of the whiskey world. So far, Kentucky Tavern is incredible. It's unbelievable. Would I endorse it? What am I saying? Yeah, 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 yeah. I want me to say that for 20 minutes straight? Yeah, 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 yeah. Unbelievable what you're getting in this bottle for $10.99. It is outrageous. Bill McIntosh, hey, Bill, says, are you sure you don't get paid by the big brewers? I'm sure I do not get paid. Would I like to get paid? Yes. It wouldn't matter in my case since I've already bragged on them, right? in all these years, 7 straight years of bragging on big breweries and the enjoyment I've had from drinking their beers. So you couldn't say that they were influencing me, right? I mean, don't you wish you had $1 for every time I bragged on Schaefer beer or Budweiser? So I guess they've paid me with t-shirts and caps and glassware and $50 worth of free beer from Modelo Negra and dry rub spices and a cutting board and 2 gold rim huge tulip glasses and Hefeweizen glasses from Blue Moon. But pay no mind to any of that. I didn't ask them to send that to me. They chose to send that to me. Okay, Bill. Oh, Jeep and Foodie said, it's a fun journey. Boy, is it. It's the best hobby in the world. Well, maybe comic books are a good hobby. Look at this. Look at this. Maxwell says, hello, Ron. I'm glad to see you. I'm glad to see you, Maxwell, over there in Europa. Well, that's the end of that. Going to do some tasting of wine later. You know, more of that Carlo Rossi. You know how long it's going to take me to drink that gallon? I would say another 3 weeks. I bet you another 3 weeks. And I got a beer review coming up. I'm going to post a beer review. I'm not going to ruin the surprise. It's coming. It's coming. And oh, you know, I got a bottle of Bourbon County Stout in my fridge. You say, well, I bet the excitement has worn off. Yeah, it kind of wore off. You know, when I first got it, John Sharon gave it to me. He used to do hangouts with us, and I was like, oh, wow. And then the second time I was like, wow. And then I got the infected barley wine. I was like, ugh. And then I got the next Bourbon County. I was like, oh, well. And now I'm just like, oh, hell, I got to pay all this money. Jeep and Foodie says, I personally enjoy brandy myself. E&J XO is my favorite. Boy, that's a dynamite product, Jeep and Foodie. That is dynamite. It used to be cork, but now it's a screw top, kind of a bummer. Oh, I hate to hear that. What's wrong with E&J Gallo? They're getting cheap. Bill says, me too, Ronald. Stout and barley wine both. I didn't have any bad experiences with the stout, the Bourbon County Stout. Is it really worth $9.99 to $12.99 a bottle? Not in my booklet. It's not worth it. I just don't think it's worth it, but that's my opinion, you know. I don't think too many beers are worth that kind of money, but I better not say too much because the craft beer viewers, well, not all of them, some of them can look at that and they just get so angry, you know. But like my friend Paul says, he's been drinking beer as long as me. He said he finds spirits, whiskey, and rum and all that is a much better value than beer. If you're going to pay $10 for a bottle, he said, why not buy a bottle of gin or a bourbon? You can sip on it for months. You open the beer, you got to drink it right there. Is the payoff any better? I don't think so. It's not any better. There's no better payoff, but oh boy, can't say that on air. Bill says ditto, but I enjoy tasting it once a year. It's fun to taste it. And I'm going to probably keep buying it. I'm just saying I don't think it's worth it. You know, I'm still buying it. If you thought about Disney World and if it was a real value, would anybody actually go? You know what I mean? So you got to kind of get those thoughts out of your head and not be too hung up on it. Anyway, all right, that's enough jibber jabber. So Kentucky Tavern, the whole point of this video is that Kentucky Tavern is a champ. And I mean a champ. If you ever see this stuff, and I want to mention that I've never received a single penny from Sazerac, although I would not necessarily discourage them from forwarding large amounts of money towards me. I wouldn't discourage that. But I would say that this is a dynamite product, Label out. Even the glass sounds good. You know what I mean? Even their glass is good. Listen, it's a different tone. Jack Daniels is an okay glass, but that Kentucky Tavern has like almost like bells, cathedral bells. Yeah, we'll start doing a series of which whiskey bottles chime better. All right, that's it. It's over. Thanks, people, for watching this incredible video. I mean, you almost can't believe how good it is, and you watched it.